So every single entrepreneur, business owner, author, expert, or speaker needs to position themselves in the marketplace and build their authority. The faster they can position themselves and accelerate their authority, then they need to have someone in business development strategies to help get them there. And I'm here today with a lady I've known for probably 3 to 4 years who is a great strategist and not only helps other business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build a platform that positions them as a unique authority and trusted advisor, who want to leverage their time to create additional streams of revenue from the content they create, but she has done it for herself in her own business by being a #1 best-selling author and the host of the iTunes New and Noteworthy podcast for 8 weeks straight to help grow her business. She's the founder of the host of Let's Talk Tech with Winnie Anderson.
That's
All right,
right.
so we're ready to go, Winnie. So how about we dive into your origin story, how you get into entrepreneurship, your journey, and the challenges that you faced.
Okay. When I was in corporate life, I had a great job at probably the height of the casino industry in the United States. And I was loved by my employer, actually a little bit too much. Those of you who have been in corporate America know very well that at some point you're almost punished for being good, right? So I had reached a point where I was traveling extensively for my employer, and I also reached a point where I was over that and just didn't want to do it. And I was going to be forced to travel 100% of the time. At the same time, I just had this feeling that there was something more. And I know those of you who are entrepreneurs know what I'm talking about. You can't explain it. It's this feeling in your heart that you're being pulled in a different direction. So I resigned. I left a job that I was well thought of and just walked out. Gave my notice and left. Didn't know what I was going to do, and thought about becoming a consultant and failed and had to go back to work. And I got a job with the American Red Cross at a local chapter that was rapidly growing. And about 18 months and 4 promotions later, I was the director of human resources there. And I was working 7 days a week, 10, 12, sometimes 15 hours a day. And I was in a car accident. I was going to work on a beautiful early spring, late winter morning, and I woke up again in the car as they were trying to cut me out.
Wow.
And that accident literally changed my life. John was telling you the exact truth. It truly changed my entire personality. And I equate it to, imagine your brain is a filing cabinet, and it's a very tall filing cabinet, and now imagine that somebody comes and takes the drawers out that are stuffed full of files and dumps them on the floor, and then smears them all around, and then picks them up and just throws them in the random drawers. That's what having a brain injury is like.
Wow.
So the theory is that you don't actually lose the memory, it's that it's somewhere misfiled, and your job then is to try to recover the memory, and for whatever you can't recover, to try to develop strategies to work around it. And for someone who had been, an executive, and who I had just graduated with my master's degree in the top 10% of the entire graduating class, it was demoralizing, frankly.
Sure.
I couldn't tie my shoes.
You have to retrain those synapses in the brain so that they're going, to the right pathway to actually be able to tell your body to do the things that you want it to do.
Right.
So it can be very challenging. So then you transition into entrepreneurship, and you've been doing that for, I've known you for 3 or 4 years now through a lot of the coaching and courses that we've done down in the U.S., that I've done down in the U.S. You're in the U.S., but just touch a little bit about on your journey into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, as I was starting my recovery, I had wonderful friends who were in various levels in their own organizations, and as they heard that I was getting better, they would give me these little projects to do. And those things were so important to me because not only was it great therapy, but it was also the kind of esteem builder that I really needed, because I needed to have, my confidence was completely shot. I literally could not tie my shoes and had to relearn that. So for somebody who was, who did all the things I did, and then to not be able to tie my shoes, I really questioned if I would ever be able to be an advisor at the level that I once was. So those kinds of little independent projects were really important to me. And as I started to get better and better, I started to think, I'd really rather not go back to work if I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started to read about promoting yourself, and that writing was a great way to do that.
Definitely.
So I reached out to a friend of mine who I didn't even realize she was in charge of the supplement, a career supplement for a local newspaper.
Okay.
So she hired me.
Excellent.
And I ended up writing the cover story and a couple of other articles for that supplement, which, that's fantastic. And when the first time you're published, you stop people on the street to tell them that you got published, right?
Yeah, you're telling the world, hey, I just got published in a newspaper. Hey, I'm in a newspaper.
That's exactly
I just published
right.
my first book. And, by the way, it's #1 bestseller.
So once I did that, people started to say, you really should write more. And I had a guy who owned a boutique brand strategy agency and design firm, and he was very complimentary and said, listen, you should write copy. You should write marketing copy. I had no idea what the word copy meant.
No.
So
Many business owners don't.
Right. So I threw myself into learning what that was all about, and before I knew it, I started ghostwriting for him.
Right.
So I developed his whole blog, I wrote all of his newsletters, and I started to write his web copy as well. Before I knew it, I was really working for him, thankfully out of my house. So I was still able to maintain the progress on my recovery, but I was really able to make a contribution, which, is so important because, I don't have to tell you, it was depressing to feel like I wasn't at the top of my game.
No, exactly. And as any marketer or business owner, entrepreneur knows, that the marketing copy or how you write or what you write to target in on your ideal target market, address the pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions that they have, and being able to frame your solution around that is the key to success in this business, in being an entrepreneur and selling your services or your products. It doesn't matter if you're a retail outlet or if you're a realtor or mortgage broker or you're a coach or consultant, author, expert, speaker. It doesn't really matter. It's really how you express yourself and attract your ideal target market and be able to offer them a solution in such a way that they just want to knock down your door and do business with you. And copywriting is the fastest way to get there.
It is. And it's also one of the most expensive elements that you will outsource.
That's right.
So if you have the ability to learn it yourself, then do it. But if not, you've got to be willing to hire somebody because it is so incredibly powerful. So I was laid off in 2008 at the start of the recession.
Okay.
And that's what...
let's transition into getting into actually coaching and consulting. So who it is that you actually coach and consult? I know that you're just going to continue on your story, but who is it that you actually coach and consult? What problems do you help them solve?
What I discovered was that there's an element of us, I believe, in every ideal client, because there's that sales is based on, it's an emotional decision as well as a cognitive one. So those people who I love working with most and who most enjoy working with me are people who also have some kind of corporate background. They come from typically a larger organization, maybe a couple of thousand employees. And when you have that kind of common background, you have a shared language and you have shared experiences. Yeah. And that I think is important to show that you understand the pain that the person is truly experiencing. So I think if we look in our hearts, there's an element of us in every one of our ideal clients. So it just made sense to me that I would help other independent professionals and other small firms. So it was the people like me as well as people who were like the firms that I helped as, as a consultant with the agency.
I think you touched on an important point there, Winnie, and that as an entrepreneur, as a coach or consultant, a lot of times we are learning and growing and solving our own problems, and we sort of see a lot of the same thing in people who actually become our ideal client, because basically we solved a problem. We were on a journey, and we had a hurdle or a challenge or a struggle, and we ended up solving the problem. But we know that there's a lot of people just like us out there going through the exact same thing, and now it's sort of our mission or our passion to be able to help them get from where they are to where they want to go, because they're in the same place that we were, and this solution worked for us. And then you go out and you help other people follow through and break through that barrier that they're facing, or that challenge, or that pain or frustration, and get to the other side. I truly believe that most entrepreneurs actually see themselves in a lot of their clients' eyes.
Amen.
Yeah. So in doing that, tell us a little bit about how you got into why podcasting. Podcasting, it seems to be taking off. So how did you think that, okay, well, I'm going to solve my problem through podcasting, or what problem were you solving? And it seems like in the last couple of years, podcasting's really taken off.
Yeah, it has. So when I went out on my own, through no wish that second time when I was laid off, I discovered, you mentioned that the accident truly changed my personality, and it did. I went from being a confident extrovert who had no problem speaking in front of 500 people and making presentations to the executive committee, to somebody who was a true introvert and never wanted to leave their house.
I hear you there.
And I hated the game of consulting. I hated the going to these networking events where people, I really felt like they were just trying to sell each other. Yes. Where I felt like there was no true effort to develop a relationship. I hated the whole game of the proposals and then the waiting, sitting by the phone. It's like dating, waiting for somebody to call you. And then when they finally do, they want to push back on your price. So the more I tried to make myself fit into a traditional style of salesperson, the more resistance I felt, and I knew that it just wasn't going to work for me. No. And I spent a lot of money. I paid gurus, I took classes trying to fix myself. And it wasn't until I realized that there was nothing wrong with me, that what was wrong was the business model I was following. That's when I started to really think about, okay, well, what model is going to work, is going to leverage my greatest gifts and allow me to have a tremendous impact, and also allow me to build a profitable business that's centered around my lifestyle. The standard entrepreneur's lament, I guess. Yeah. And so I knew that I enjoyed writing, and I was obviously good at it. So I took this class, and that's where I met you. And when I met you and the other people in that course, there was a guy named John Cody there. Yeah. And John Cody, I tell everybody, he's my hero. John Cody really inspired me because he had started a podcast around something he really didn't know very much about. And then he built a business around the podcast. So when I left...
Successful one.
A very, very successful podcast and a very successful business. So when we left at the end of that weekend, I was really thinking about, I should check out this podcasting thing. So I started thinking about it then while I wrapped up these consulting contracts that I had. And what the research that I did showed me that podcasting is definitely on the rise. It has increased about 23% from 2015 to 2016. And I really believed that I could do this, that I could not just do a great podcast, that I could build a business around it. So it looked like it met all of my needs. Then it was just a matter of figuring out the right topic.
Right.
And I went through a few ideas, but I could just feel that technology was going to be right because it was a growing topic. It's a pain point that a lot of people have. My audience, my core audience, has this as a pain point, and I knew I could make a contribution here.
Yeah, and Winnie and I are very similar in the fact that we're both introverts and very proud to be introverts. We go back to when I started into the real estate space, prior to real estate investing as a business consultant. Then I ended up in real estate because at the same time I lost my contract, at the same time Winnie lost her job around the recession. So I ended up in real estate investing. And being an introvert, there's no way I'm picking up the phone and calling anybody or knocking on doors. So I had to basically build a system that brought everybody to me. I had to position myself as the go-to person, understand the pains, fears, frustrations, ambitions, and have the people contact me because I had a solution that offered to solve the problem, very much like Winnie's doing with her podcast, and very much like we're doing with this show. As this show is part of an overall bigger picture, a bigger strategy of accelerating the authority, my authority back into the coaching and consulting space. So working with entrepreneurs and actually showing them that how they can accelerate their authority by doing shows like this, bringing on guests like Winnie that talk about podcasting, both of us #1 best-selling authors, things like that that actually accelerate an individual's authority.